Okay, so currently where we sit is the government have announced their restriction dossier. That gives us a 3-year timeline. Can you hear that okay? A 3-year timeline for the removal of lead shot for live quarry shooting and target shooting. We also have a 3-year timeline for centre fire rifles, anything larger than 243, so that's 243 and above. There are no restrictions for small calibers, anything below 243, that includes air guns. Ranges, registered ranges that can undertake correct risk management measures, such as de-leading, can continue to use lead. After 3 years, target ammunition to be used on those ranges will have to be labelled, not for live quarry. And I think that about sums it up, Charlie.
I think it does. How are they going to enforce this? How are they going to make this ban happen, do you reckon?
The restriction is on the sale and use of lead, so I don't think it's around policing. It is about enforcing through the sale and access to lead. But obviously it would be illegal to use after that time.
Is it going to be like angling, where they basically pretty well banned the sale and then people just used up their stock over time, and lead weights, this is?
There will be an inspection that you have used up your lead by 2029 when legislation comes in.
Okay. Right, Ian, what has BASC been doing about this?
For a number of years now, it's been very clear, regardless of where you sit on the lead debate, good, bad, indifferent, it's the evil, who cares? It's been very clear that in Europe, at the time when we were still part of the EU, a ban was coming, and the UK was also going to enforce a ban. So we were part of 9 other organisations, including Countryside Alliance, NGO, all the large organisations you expect, who are in favour of self-regulation rather than government regulation, and we pushed for a voluntary transition. Brutally honest, did we actually expect everyone out there to say this is a fantastic idea, we're all over it, we love you? No, we got the response we expected, which is a raft of people have shifted from lead. A whole raft of people say they would rather give up shooting before they give up lead. And there's a raft of people in the middle who are sort of, yeah, whatever. And what we have been doing is we have been educating, showing, testing, research, science, etc. And with regards to this most recent announcement, they have aligned the timing of lead shot with that Europe is aiming for, and I am Vice President of the European Hunting Association as well, and we are pressuring through the European Shooting Association, the EU, to say that we are pushing for a 5-year transition. The Danes believe it needs to be 5 years, and they went through it 30 years ago, and the other European Hunting Association organisations are also pushing for 5 years.
So it's a sort of 2 speeds. So the UK and Europe are basically doing this around about the same time. But
about the same time. When it actually comes into law, who knows? But the 2 transition times are 3 years, which is frustrating because all the research and all the evidence that went into the Health and Safety Executive, for various reasons, led to the recommendation for a 5-year transition period, which is what people are largely geared up to try and achieve.
Okay.
And
Nick,
now it's 3.
Explain what you do, because I mean, you've kind of ridden a wave of non-lead to an extent, but you're not absolutely against lead, are you?
I'm not against lead. Over the last 5 years, and perhaps a little bit before that, I knew sooner or later lead was going to be finished. So I've been investing in certain companies in Europe which have created now a paper wad so we can fire that wad with any material, from tungsten, steel, bismuth, but you can't afford it, blue shot, copper, and other alternatives. There's a new factory in Spain now starting up making biodegradable wads which are different from compostable wads, and these start to biodegrade when they touch the ground within 3 months, and within 18 months they've gone. The blue shot, which is an amalgamation of bismuth, aluminium, tin and zinc, is about 1/6 of the price of bismuth. Bismuth has risen from $22,000 a tonne last year to $66,000 a tonne today. Blue shot is $8,000 to $9,000 a tonne. The advantage of the blue shot, we've now got it soft enough, we can fire it without a cut wad, so we can use a traditional fibre wad, albeit they are full of bitumen and plastic, but we can come back to that argument another day.
Yeah. So you have made advances, because, I mean, I remember 5 years ago, a lot of the more traditional ammunition manufacturers were going, whoa, this will never happen. And BASC has taken control of the argument in your way. At Fieldsports Channel, we have been showing all the lead alternatives, but we did some polling last week of our audience, and 85% do not like this lead ban. They are still basically against it. So this tanker is moving around very slowly, Nick, isn't it?
I think the problem is 85% of people haven't tried an alternative to lead. Last season, normally I shoot a 28 ball, and this year we've actually got 28 balls with paper wads and steel and tungsten and copper in. But last year I shot a 12 bore again. I've got a Browning, which is 1/2 and 3/4 choke, and I shot paper wads with steel, copper, tungsten, blue shot and lead. Best result in that gun, 29 grams of 4-shot and a paper of steel in the paper wad. There is no fear to shooting alternatives from lead. People's shooting won't change. They can still shoot the high birds, move one shot size. You need to kill a bird, you need to strike a vital organ or break an artery or have impact on the bird for shock. If you're shooting with steel, you have more pellets in the pattern. If you're shooting with alternative, you have more pellets in the pattern. Same with copper. There is no fear. We could change tomorrow. The fear is there's no material to do the whole market and the European market at the same time. There's not enough steel, and there's no gunpowder. We need a double base powder, which uses nitroglycerin. There's a war going, there's an open war in Europe, and there's wars in other countries. Most of the nitroglycerin is going to fight wars. We need to kill Putin, and then things become a little bit better. So if anybody's going towards Russia, round Moscow and stick a bullet in him, then our lives become
That's
a bit
the first time we've had a suggestion we should kill somebody on this stage. Thank you very much. Came from you as well. That's terrific. All right, look, Ian, what's BASC doing to manage the situation now?
What we're doing is we're trying to give people the information and knowledge to make informed choices. We're also trying to convince many that this is not a threat to whether we shoot, it's how we shoot. And, you know, your thing, 85% don't want to shift from lead. Yeah, great, absolutely. But unfortunately, stuff happens from government, etc., that we might not like. I had a chat with someone who, a couple of years ago here at the Game Fair, and he was pointing me in the chest. He works in the sector. And he said, you know, what are you doing about this? And I told him. He said, well, that's not good enough. And I said, right, you deliver a lot of this stuff. What are you doing about it? Well, we're staying with what we've got. I said, so when the ban comes in, whenever the ban is, I will be looking at you and I'll be writing on the front of my magazine to say that the reason we can't shoot is because you're not producing what we need to shoot with. Now, Nick's out there trying to develop a whole lot of things. And to be fair, you look at now what is available out there from the cartridge manufacturers.
It's got better.
It's got much better. The world situation is a problem. The timeline for us to change will be challenging. But there are a raft of alternatives out there. I had someone chatting to me the other day and they said, I've got an old gun. It was a 1960s AYA. It's not very old. He said, I'm not going to be able to, I've got to get rid of it. I said, well, hang on a minute. You don't. You really don't.
No, I think that much is true. Though there are only, we've all got to learn what kind of cartridges we can put through our guns, for example, and we might have to mess around with chambers and things like that. Is that true, Nick?
No.
Go on then.
In a word.
Well, as long as you don't say buy my products. Well, what's the answer?
Buy my products.
No, don't say that.
I don't say that. If you don't have to, the product that is made by Joker in France, the paper wad, will make... No, it is available to other manufacturers and they are using it. So it's not buy my product. So this is not a sales pitch. Mind you, I own part of Joker, but this is not a sales pitch. This product can be used in any gun, any choke. as long as you have the suitable size chamber, and we make this product from 410s to 10 bore, 65 mil if you wish. Anything. You can use it through old guns, new guns. If you don't want to use steel, use alternative. If you don't like that, you can use a standard fibre wad and use the alternative shot. So that there's product out there now. We're selling it in the market. People are buying it. They're trying it. They're liking it. They're coming back to it. I'm not worried about the change because, as I said, I've been rowing my boat on this for over 5 years, and I think I'm probably ahead of everybody else in the number of options that we as a company offer all the shooting fraternity. And we're offering these options to other manufacturers. Some of them are wanting to take it up, some of them have taken it up. So I think it's not just... I want to see all the manufacturers thrive in the shooting industry, because the more people in the industry will keep the industry alive. It will give the shooters choice, and as long as they buy my stuff, I don't mind, but it gives them choice. And that will keep us alive. If we try to fight each other, we will die. And I think we have to look at all the alternatives. We have hurdles to challenge. I was just talking to Mr. and Mrs. Bontoft at Hull before I came here, and they're in agreement with me that we have to meet the challenges, and we have to get past these challenges. The difficult thing is going to come with the steel and the powder, but I'm sure that we can keep going and we'll get by the problem.
Okay, that's the supply question. Terry, you...
No, I was only going to mention, obviously you mentioned chamber length. So there's a multitude of cartridges now from manufacturers with 65mm chambers. So they're made for old guns specifically. Most of the issues come around the choking end. Obviously, if they're nitro-proofed, as long as they're not Damascus barrels, they'll be fine for standard performance still. If you've got your chamber right, if your choking is correct, if your choking is too tight, or if you do have Damascus barrels, then your options are bismuth or Nick's Blue Shark. So there are options now for old guns, small bore guns. We are covered across the board. It's just now about supply.
Ian?
Yeah, if you're going to ask me one thing that we would want people to do...
Imagine I asked you.
You try it, Charlie.
Come on, what's that one thing?
Understand what you might need to do in your way of shooting if, as and when, you can't fire lead. And in almost, not all, but in almost every case, there's something out there. And there's, of course, I would say, like Nick says, come and ask us, we'll tell you what that should be. There's a plethora of people out there who will give you those options and tell you what that is. Because the ban is going to happen. Lead ammunition is going to be banned, and we want to see as many people as want to be shooting the day after that ban comes in, because there are many who would love to see less of us out there in the field. And obviously we don't want that.
Well, I suppose that is an important question. It seems to me that a lot of the sentiment behind banning lead shots comes from people who would like to ban all guns. And therefore it is difficult for the 85% who don't want this to happen right now to trust this political decision to ban lead shot, and they will be saying we need to fight back against it. I mean, whether or not they've got a hope, is that a view?
Absolutely. I mean, I recognise people who have that position, and if we genuinely thought putting a raft of resource in to try and help stop this, if it was the right thing to do, we would do it. But we made a choice a while ago to suggest that actually the future of shooting 35, 45 years from now is probably not going to be in lead. And critical is getting this stuff into the food chain. Because if we do not put game into the food chain, there is no way we will be supported just killing stuff for fun. And the big supermarkets and those who would move it on don't want it with lead in it.
I mean, I think the 15% who are happy with the change are all about food. You know, that's exactly the argument. So why did this government give this ban to DEFRA to do, which is about wildlife, and not to the health department? And we've had a couple of politicians on here this morning who really can't answer that question.
Well, the work was done by, I've got no idea. You know, I'm not going to argue the ins and outs of the government. The work was done by the Health and Safety Executive, and then the sponsor department for our sector is DEFRA. Now, there was another question asked by the Guns on Pegs survey, which was to do with, would you need to make changes when a ban comes? And the same amount said, no, we don't need to make any changes. So that's encouraging to me that people out there know what they need to do, because that's going to allow us to continue shooting.
Nick, quick gun trade question. I spoke to a gun shop owner down in the West Country last week, and he says since the ban was announced last week, he's had a little mini boom of people coming in and buying steel-proofed shotguns. He's very happy. Are you seeing a change in market sentiment over the last week?
We won't notice a change until the shooting season starts or the game fair kicks off the buyers in the trade. They will be buying non-lead cartridges in bigger volumes than they were. Whether we'll get back to 3 years ago, I don't know. Last year, the sale of non-lead cartridges was diabolical. People just said, we're shooting lead until we can stop. I think now...
Is that because they believed that the lead ban wouldn't come in?
I've had people on our stand this morning who told me that the lead ban won't happen. And I said, believe me, it's going to happen.
Why do they say it? What do they give as their reason for that?
The moon's made of cheese and Elvis Presley danced with Charlie Chaplin.
Right. Thank you. You always get that kind of view from Nick, which is great. Terry, you presumably agree with Ian, the lead ban is going to happen. And, this is a question of moving sentiment around. Sentiment moves very, very slowly in our world. You know, we are a slow burn world, aren't we? Should you be managing it in any way? Should you be forcing shooters to understand this, or just let them understand?
Well, did I understand you right when you just mentioned that people are buying more guns? Did you say?
This is what this gun shop owner said. He said that he's had people coming in and saying, I now know that I need to get and he's one gun shop, and we don't know if this is true across the nation, but he said, I now know that I need to get a steel-proof shotgun because my old side-by-side is not going to do it.
But that goes completely back to my first comment there, which is, if you've got a nitro-proof gun and it's in reasonable condition and not Damascus, it is steel-proofed, as long as your choking's correct. And, you know, you've put our stats up, which is great. We've given over 100,000 moving away from lead shot booklets, which explains this stuff. We've had 20,000 people through sustainable ammunition events where we are pattern testing their gun, measuring their chokes, measuring the bores, making sure that they are well informed. And that's what we will continue to do, of course. So you don't need to go out and buy a new gun. You need to get your gun checked either by your BASC member, your regional team, or go to your local gunsmith. And in most cases, your gun will be fine.
I promise you, after the year he's had, he's not going to say to those buyers, oh, no, you should keep your old gun, don't you worry, mate.
I've had a few people say that to me. Why do you say different to our gun shop? Well, we're not in the market of selling guns. Yeah. And we are here to ensure the future of shooting.
Yeah, you could see a healthy distinction between gun shops and gunsmiths, couldn't it? Nick, were you waving your hand there because you wanted to say something?
It's just about the guns and sort of supporting the gun trade. They need to sell more guns to be here. I think a lot of the older generation, or my generation, everybody shoots with grandfather's gun, but you don't drive grandfather's car. And it's about time people actually bought their own guns to use with modern ammunition. It helps the trade going, but you're quite right, you can use what you've got. But if you're going to change guns, now's probably the time to do it. Okay. So you're ready, you know how to drive the gun, and you can test all the different ammunition to find out which one suits you and suits the gun and your style of shooting.
Yeah, Ian?
I shoot my grandfather's old English gun. I don't shoot it anywhere near as well as he did. It's a 1920s gun. I've not fired anything other through it than steel for the last 5 years. I don't hit any more, I don't hit any less. And when I got people to check it, they said, you shouldn't be firing anything through this until you get it sorted. So I was just doing the whole stuff. My son, 20 years old, he's been shooting since he was 16, 17. He has never once asked me what sort of cartridge I'm giving him to fire. He has no idea and he cares even less. All he cares about is, can he go shooting? Can he knock that bird down?
People like your son make Nick very depressed, I think. Take your cartridges more seriously. Terry, it's true to say that if you've got a gun, it's worth checking it before you decide to go ahead. I mean, if the choke is more than half, you will have a problem with steel. Is that right?
Indeed. We would encourage anybody to have the gun checked. You know, steel shot is higher pressures predominantly, so you should be using a reasonably good conditioned gun. And using Ian as an example there, you know, guns are off the face, they're old, they wear. A service from time to time is good. If you've got a good gunsmith, genuinely, they will recommend what you should and shouldn't be doing with it.
Ian, I want to go back to that question of expectation management with the shooters on the ground. It's been a hard 5 years for putting this argument across. Well, that's a statement. I should make that a question. Do you agree it's been a hard 5 years for putting this question across?
I would, because that's pretty much my level of involvement with it. But if I speak to others, it's been pretty interesting 30-odd years, because I think when we go back through various magazines, etc., this discussion has been going on forever. Of course it's a hard time. I mean, I was listening to someone the other day who has not done any of this stuff and has not been exposed, and there's just a lot of chat that is, some of it is correct, a lot of it is not necessarily the case. I'll give you an example that the Danes use. The Danes made a really big thing, the Danish hunters, when their ban was coming in. And they said that it was to do with logging and the wood trade. And they said that what's going to happen is the saws and the workshops are all going to splinter and it's going to be dreadful, so you can't bring the ban in. And of course, when the ban came in and they used the ammunition that we're describing, that didn't happen. And the danger with that is that when we talk about self-regulation and want to be taken seriously by government of any colour, we've got to be talking sense, because if we're proven to be just saying things because we think it might delay something but it might not be true, actually in the future, self-regulation and our argument carries far less weight. And that is a real challenge when you're sitting in a room with a minister, 15 civil servants, briefs up the yin-yang. You've got to be accurate, you've got to be truthful, and you've got to give them science and stats to change their decision-making.
Well, you're seeking some derogations at the moment, aren't you? Like 243s, for example. Are you? I mean, I know there's issues over 410 cartridges and muzzle loading. Are you pushing for those as well?
Yeah, we are, and there'll be two things that we rather hope will happen. Is we'll push as hard as we can to get derogations, and equally we're hoping that the development of ammunition to use in these calibers and this type of a gun develops quicker perhaps than it is. Trying to bring those together is a challenge.
Muzzle loaders, we're selling the blue shot to muzzle loaders and they're having very good results with it. We're also trying to convince the muzzle loaders to buy these wads to preload them at home so they can drop in quick and they can load faster, and some of them have found their rate of fire with the muzzle loader increases dramatically. 410s, as I said, we've got 410s out there. We make 410s, and we're making them with tungsten, copper, alternative shot, or steel. So that's not a problem. We've got the product now. In the next 2 to 3 weeks, they'll be on a lorry coming into this country. So I, from my point of view, my business plan on this is I've been spending a lot of time, money and effort getting products that when we're ready to go, we can go. And the Italians said to me once, is you sit by the river and you wait until your enemy floats by. Well, I've now got to that point. And the people that don't want to change, they need to get in the river and float away, because if we don't change, we will be dead. We will join them in the river.
Yeah, I mean, I think the 85% would say there's a never say die element to them who think this one can be fought.
When you're old enough, you can remember we used to smoke on the aeroplanes, the undergrounds, the pubs. You say to a younger generation now, they can't even imagine you smoking in a pub, never mind on the underground or an aeroplane. It's unconscionable.
Is this going to be like seatbelts, basically?
This is going to be the seatbelt and the cigarette moment. Yeah. I think in 20 years' time, if we're all still alive and we all sit here and anybody wants to listen to us and change our nappies, we will be there saying, what's the problem? And the next generation will say, I can't understand why anybody shot lead and didn't shoot what we're currently shooting.
Yeah. Ian, you're just agreeing with that. All right. Just to throw two of the arguments that get thrown at the people who are pushing for change. One is the amount of lead piping, lead flashing we have in our lives. Terry, do you want to answer that?
It's been banned in construction for 20 years, and there's programs to actually remove lead piping from waterways. And if you go out into major cities, you'll see the roads being dug up, you'll see coils of polymer pipe being put in, and it will come up to your boundary, and you'll have to be responsible internally. Equally, obviously, lead ferramates, it gets a lining inside, so the water is not actually pushing through the lead like you'd think.
People who have ingested lead over all their lives and are still alive, and there is some doubt over still.
I don't doubt you're looking at 3 on this stage right now.
Yeah, and they're like you, Charlie. Can't string 2 words together, for goodness sakes.
that is a problem. My IQ is significantly lowered thanks to lead. But it is a point. You can eat lead and it just goes lead shot and it goes straight through you. Is it not lead? I mean, the theory is it's lead compounds that cause you problem, not lead shot. I'm not asking a scientist.
You need to ask a doctor and a scientist. Okay. And what is a fact is that it has been accepted across governments and internationally that there is no safe level of lead to absorb. And that argument has gone. It's done. It's dusted. That this government has decided that we're not going to be allowed to continue with lead. But more importantly, the people like Nick, who's driven by business, so he's doing all this stuff. The people being driven by business who we should be selling our game through and getting massive value into it won't take it if it has lead in. Regardless of the law, they just won't do it. And we are giving them stuff that we are already saying is lead-free, and it's not. So all of a sudden, we're just racking up arguments that we're a sector that doesn't do what we say, doesn't deliver what we say, and we need to be good at what we say we're doing. We need to regulate ourselves, and we need to get this amazing product out there into the majority of people's homes for them to eat, so we can crack on and live our lives as we want to live them now. More importantly, the likes of my son and his kids can crack on, not worried about what they're shooting, but the fact is they're out there and shooting.
And enjoy their shooting. Brilliant.